Hmm. All right, so I guess we'll look at this as the power of your time, the power of your attention. You could look at it that way. Um, but it's specifically in what you're doing for other people. If there's any out there that function like this, or if this is something that you ever thought about, that's kind of what we're talking about. And the thing that we're talking about is when you give your time to other people, strangers, right? What that does, what those interactions, can serve to do, and maybe this happens to a lot of you, right? And you don't understand it. So I want to tell some stories from my perspective, share my experience with everybody, and on this topic, and take it from there. So I came across a video by one of these kids, the TwinsthenewTrend kids. There's these two brothers that do reactions to videos. At the time, I hadn't seen him or his brother in other videos for a while. Basically, he was talking about how he was at the gym and he had this experience where another person came up and kind of opened up to him and had a very personal conversation. Um, I believe he asked him if he ever wants to just cry, or and I believe he might have shared some personal things going on, um, with him in the gym. And it was kind of like it hit him in a kind of awkward way. He said he didn't know how to take it, thought it was weird, and but like the more that he sat on it, it seemed like he realized that it was, yes, it might be strange. It depends what your normal is, right? But for most of us out here, I think that might be strange behavior. But you come to find out when you participate in things like that, that type of behavior is actually connecting with strangers and other people on a deeper level like that. It's a meaningful time that's spent there, right? And meaningful energy spent. And so it feels different, right? And this kid noted that, and God bless him, man. I'm sorry, dude. I don't know I forget your name. Don't know it, tell you the truth. But I just know you and your brother by your faces, and awesome videos. Seen tons of your videos, Um, yeah, I try to imitate your 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 intro, but I just expose myself as old, I would think, at this point. So, yeah, man. No, I wanted to speak on this whole idea of like talking to strangers in public, and you know, just like what that's about for me, I guess. Um, it was cool because for this kid, it was very new to him. He described himself as a quiet individual, doesn't normally partake in that sort of thing, and really kind of even he kind of outed himself in the sense that he's way more quiet than his videos and his YouTube channel would, leave you to think. So I thought that was pretty cool too. And so I think one, like, good to you, dude. Like, it's cool to see you getting outside of your box a little bit, right? Excuse me. You getting outside your box, talking to people in public when that's something you don't normally do. I think for all of us, good things can happen by doing that. You have to take risks, right? And do new things to get different results. So, like, for me personally, I think this is a function of my life that I've only begun to kind of understand clearly in recent years, right? Um, my whole life, I have been a talkative person, when I choose to be. And typically I'm quiet around people at first, but once you get to know me, you know, I won't shut up, and I have a lot to share, and my brain doesn't have a filter, and I believe in information exchange, like verbal information exchange, and I think there's a lot to be can be gained through sharing, talking, and sharing information, and sharing experiences. And I don't try to judge people at all, but like it's a pet peeve of mine when people don't know how to maneuver politely in a conversation, like interrupting others and just one-way conversations and stepping on people. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves. Is like that level of inconsideration is it's alarming to me. A lot of people function like that. So, anyway, that's one thing. Like, when I talk to people, I give them my attention, right? I pretty much treat everybody the same. So I'll talk to a guy on the street that's asking me for $1. I'll talk to him the same way as I'll talk to anybody else, and a guy in a suit. So whatever. And I talk to everybody. I do my best. At this point in my life, I've conditioned myself well. I've broke through any conditioning to where I really, truly can say I don't look down upon people. I look at everybody in a very neutral way. If anything, I'm handling the energy that they're bringing forth to the situation, and that's what is putting me in any, but I'm aware of that. And so, yeah, I don't judge people, and I try to treat everybody the same way. And, so I end up talking to a lot of people, and it's been like that my whole life, and so one of the things that happens is, like, when you pay attention to people and you learn to converse back and forth, like, people will start to, like, share things with you, and aside from a lot of other things, right, that happen from these conversations, I've had many of these conversations go, like, fairly serious pretty quickly, right? Kind of like this, the twins talked about in the gym, where this dude's talking about, like, pretty heavy stuff, talking about man to man, wanting to cry and it being that hard, that, just talking about stuff like that. Those aren't typical, out in the public conversations to have. So I've had a lot of these conversations with people go very serious, I'm blessed that God's given me the ability to be a post for people, something to lean on. And I seem to tell them the things they need to hear. I seem to provide people with a comfortable space. All the above. I've always done these things naturally, and as I've learned about myself, of course, that's the beautiful thing. You learn to, like, refine these skills that were already there, right? Once you get to know yourself. And so I've become even more attuned to this, and that's really kind of like the pregame there for what I wanted to share. I was waiting to talk on this topic since I saw the video from Twins, and it just wasn't coming together. I recorded one outside. The audio was bad. I thought it was going to be good. I said some good stuff, whatever. I probably could have posted it, but, like, I didn't. And, yesterday, it was like I had a morning where it was like, okay, this is it. Now I can just talk about what happened, right, to me in my life, and share some of my experience. And excuse me. So, yeah, yesterday it happened, and I knew I had some meat to talk about. Like, this is how it goes, right? So, let me say first, excuse me, I'm going to go fill some coffee, and I'll probably go smoke a cigarette here in a second. We'll do coffee and a cigarette, and I'm going to... So first, it's important to make note that I think to get this whole situation going right, you need to be following your intuition, right? And I think that if people are out there and they find themselves in these situations, that's what's happening. They're actually following their intuition. So in the case of the twins here, you deciding to go and talk to this dude and letting that conversation take that path, that's certainly you following your intuition and God placing you where you need to be, potentially affecting his life in a positive way, right? In the sense of following that intuition, that's become such a basic thing for me. to the point that, probably to my detriment. I've been self-employed my whole life, and I let my schedule make itself when I'm able to. When I have to stick to hard schedules, I'm obsessive about it, and I almost shut off because I have to. I don't have the time to do it. But when I'm operating in the way that I want to, I'm able to pretty much give time to people whenever I see them, and that's something that I try to do. That's a conscious effort on my part, right? Because I know that these conversations I have with people end up being important for them, right? And I know they're important for me. I feel like now I understand that me doing that is certainly part of me, like playing my purpose out. So I go about my day, and I just have these things pop into my head where it's like, go here, do this, do this. Very little is planned. I might leave the house with something to do and decide to stop somewhere out of nowhere, right? So then it'll end up that I'll run into someone and have a conversation there that was like really important and significant. Usually, they'll get heavy, maybe some of these. So like some of these conversations, like for example, I've been privileged to have men that have served in war for some reason feel comfortable to talk to me and tell me things that many men have told me. They've told me stuff that they've never told anyone. Many have told me stuff that I've only ever said this a few times. I've cried with grown men over stuff like that when they've told me. Watched them cry. I've watched them not cry. I've tried to say whatever I thought I could say in those moments. I've tried to just listen in those moments and respect that this dude's like, be aware of what's happening, right? So for me, that's something that it's been a privilege and an honor for me to somehow play that role for people. Likewise, people will talk about like a lot of serious stuff that's going on with them and get quick to it. And anytime that someone chooses to share anything like that, I try to do my best to give my time and attention to it, and certainly be in the moment and give them my attention and the respect, right, person to person, and hear them out, try to give them compassion, and let it go where it goes. And so in my ideal situation, I would time wouldn't be of consequence there. It wouldn't matter. I would enable those conversations to kind of go where they need to go. A lot of times I end up helping people, giving people rides, places, different people. That happened yesterday. So okay, so that's the second backdrop to this whole thing. Get you guys a little in tighter to what I'm talking about, a little more familiar with it. So let's come in here from the cigarette, and we're gonna finish the story. So let's end this quick. Probably put enough time into it. So yeah, to finish this out. So yesterday, I left for my day, and I had to go to the doctor. And let me see if I can recount these in order. So, what was oh shoot, I had a big talk. So yeah, shoot, at the doctor, man. So a guy in the waiting room at the doctor, he's a guy that I recognized from around town my whole life. And, as a teenager, I remember him walking around town being really shot out, carrying a 40 bottle, and just always having like a 40 bottle, dude, and just being in bad shape. And then you would see him kind of jogging, and it was sick, yo. He would break out like 70s era like jogging gear, but he had like a big beer belly, and he's looking rough. And this dude probably doesn't have the best mental health. And I just gave him the time. He talked about my Adidas. I had some track pants and sneakers, and he's telling me about his Adidas shoes. So I had a nice long conversation with him. That really wasn't even on the list here. So anyway, after my doctor appointment, I just decided to stop over at Turkey Hill. Okay. Stop at the Turkey Hill, and I'm smoking a cigarette because I went in to get 2 packs of cigarettes, and I just happened to walk by a guy at the ATM. And I thought he was talking to himself, and I believe he was. And as I'm walking by, he just said, "Hey, what's up, man? How's it going?" And I turned around and said, "Hey, say hello to him." And, he proceeded, we did a little like, "Hey, what's going on? How you doing?" Da, da, da. Well, he told me pretty quickly that he just had a stroke, and he was struggling with his arm. And so, man, I that's rough, dude. Dude, I had a stroke like 2 weeks ago. So, I talked to him about, what he possibly could do to heal it. I let him tell me about his situation, asked him some questions, and, just gave him some advice on my part. I seem to give people a lot of advice on healing and taking care of their bodies, like outside of the medical system, and what they can do to better themselves, take care of themselves. And so we talked a little bit about that. We talked about, things he could do to benefit himself and healing. And I wished him the best, man. I tried to put good energy onto him. And the conversation just went from me passing a guy at the ATM to him opening up, man to man. This is a grown man. I'm 42. He's probably like 50. And he was in rough condition. Had a nice car, but he was looking rough, man. He's probably by himself, struggling. And just like we talked about. And, him opening up to me in front of a mini mart, in front of an ATM about his stroke and how vulnerable. He made himself very vulnerable to me. And, I try to pay that with respect and giving him my best advice and wishes and hope for healing, And, he pulled out of the parking lot and, we waved to each other and all that shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, so there's one, right? Then I go to get my bagel sandwich. And God bless this girl. She's one of these sweet little, 18-year-old, 19, 20-year-old girls that work at this breakfast place, bagel place. And I go in there all the time. They know me. And I talk to everybody everywhere I go. And these girls, God bless them, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure they crush on me or whatever. But this girl that I talked to, it was funny because at the doctor's office, I was looking at a relay for life thing for cancer. And, God bless my father. May he rest in peace. This May, it'll be 13 years since he died of cancer. And I was thinking about going and filling out, making, one of these lantern things for him. And so here I am, just after that appointment. And this girl that I see all the time at the bagel shop, she opens up and is telling me, we're talking. I order my sandwich and there's no one there. So we were having a person-to-person conversation more than just ordering your breakfast sandwich and how are you doing? And, and she's telling me how like her dad died of cancer and this and that. And yeah, it was related to her shoes. It was weird, but it came up and she just started talking about her dad and her dad's death of cancer. And I told her my dad passed of cancer and she's only 18 or 19. So it happened recently for her. It was in the last few years. And my dad was 13 years ago. And I think of him every day still, And so we had a nice conversation. We had a nice conversation there. So I come out of the bagel sandwich and outside there's a guy. And, he's like eating down a sandwich and a coffee. And he's, struggling and talking about, man, can I borrow some money? My car broke down at CVS and da-da-da. And, I'm like, dude, I can't, I'm tight. You can't just be handing out money to everybody, right? And like, so he's like, well, yo, can you give me a ride or something? And I'm like, where you want to go? So he wants to go right into town, which is dead halfway between the bagel sandwich and me going home. So I'm like, yo, sure, I'll give you a ride. No problem, dude. So whatever, boom, boom, boom. Get my sandwich, finish up. He finishes up. We get in there and we ride out. And so we start talking and we're both in recovery from heroin, but my man's like homeless, living out of his car. So, he's 3 years clean, but he's homeless. And you know, my man looked like he was struggling. My man stank, like sitting in my car. It didn't smell good. You know, I hope you don't see this. And you know, you know, what was his name? Taylor. And I called him James. And I realized afterwards it was James Taylor. That's why. And so anyway, yeah, Taylor, if you don't see this, don't think less of me, my bro. I'd give you a shower if I could. But I gave him half his bus fare to get where he needed to go, to get help with his car. And, you know, gave him a ride down there. And we had good conversation, and hopefully I was able to make a positive difference for him, and by doing nothing else than just physically carrying him, you know, on my way home and halfway, and dropping him off. So yeah, and you know, there are things about that conversation that hopefully were something he needed to hear, and I know that happened in both those last two conversations, you know. And so now, what was the third one? I believe there was a third conversation that happened, or a fourth, I guess you could say. So, you know, my point is like, sometimes this happens to me. Like, I'll go out and I'll have a day where my morning is consumed by stopping and having these conversations that happen around running to Home Depot to get this, running to get a breakfast sandwich, going to get a coffee, going to put gas in the car, going to pay a bill, right? So, like, you run into these people and your whole morning takes way longer than you planned on. But then I look back, I get home, and after this time running around, and I realize that, wow, I actually put time and energy towards these people too. And so, like, that's one point, is I think for any of you out there that can relate to this, I think it's important to understand, like, that's okay to count that. That's valuable time, man, right? Us being out here, if you follow your intuition, you do what you, right, or felt like you're led to do, you feel like it's the right thing, the good thing, and you end up being put in places where you can do those things for other people, even if it's just a conversation. Words are very powerful. Attention is very powerful, right? Like, you're out here checking off boxes, dude, right? You're doing it. That's what you're supposed to be doing. So in this whole rat race and this whole everything else that wants to get you distracted, that wants to get you mad at people for wanting to talk to you when you're out trying to do this that's so important for whatever, right? Like, I think it's important to realize, like, we're all here together, man, right? And if we want any love and compassion for ourselves, we should treat others how we want to be treated. So going out there and giving people your attention and time is a beautiful thing. That video made me think of that, and thanks for sharing, thanks for listening to me share my experience about it. I think I've said all I can say. So hope everyone is doing well again, and blessings upon all of you. Talk to you soon. God bless. Bye-bye.